Hello. So this video is my second video on sleep. So I don't know if you saw the other one that I put out, but I would recommend going back. Don't know when you're viewing this, obviously, but there is another video that I put out on sleep, and it talks mostly about why we have insomnia. Like, what is the root causes for insomnia? In this video, I'm going to talk more about solutions and what to do. So just to recap a little bit, if we are having insomnia and we are not able to get to sleep, or even if we're getting to sleep and waking up in the middle of the night, there is some sympathetic activation in the system. That means the fight or flight part of our nervous system is activated. This can be from early childhood, a pattern that we developed from early childhood. It can be also from a current chronic daily stressor that is activating our nervous system, or both. So again, I have another video on sort of more in-depth things, attachment theory stuff attachment to a caregiver that can be a culprit for why we might have adult insomnia later on. I developed insomnia when I was like 12. So I've dealt with insomnia most of my life. And then I talk a little bit in the last video about how there's a lot of pressure around if we have chronic symptoms and autoimmune, literally our entire health, physical and mental well-being can be dependent on how much sleep we get, which puts a lot of pressure around sleep, which then makes sleep harder and more anxiety driven. And, we get in more of an anxious state when we're like, there's so much writing on sleep. And that's what I was dealing with for years and years and years and years and years. And I have not completely healed my insomnia. It has gotten a lot better, but I think I said in the last video, I have some cycles throughout the year. Sometimes I see a little bit of it in my monthly cycle when I'm about to start my cycle, my menstrual cycle, which coincides with the full moon. And these are energies of where we're trying to release and purge. And a big shift is usually happening in our body. We also have these shifts throughout the year, like on a yearly scope and on a monthly scope. And so I talk about this a lot in the last video as well. These are opportunities to purge, and with that can come some anxiety. What we want is a healthy nervous system to be able to navigate these times of purge and big change and transformation in a way that our system actually has more capacity for. So we're still going through these big changes, but they might not bring on such symptoms every time anymore as we regulate and as we get healthier and stronger. Okay. So all that to say, I have changed the way that I deal with insomnia. And I'll tell you how and why. So if we are dealing with some sort of fight or flight in the body, even if it's underneath some freeze and we have chronic fatigue and anxiety/insomnia going on, if we are not sleeping, the fight or flight sympathetic stuff is there. Regardless of how much chronic fatigue we have, we can still have insomnia and chronic fatigue. It's such a mind-boggling thing, but it absolutely happens. And a lot of people with chronic illness and autoimmune have both of those things running at the same time. This is typical nervous system dysregulation, gas on, brake on at the same time. It is not uncommon. It is all nervous system and trauma, I'll say stored survival stress in the system going on. So when we have that activation at night, let's say we're tired and even we've had a very productive day even, and we go and we watch some TV with our loved ones or whatever, our partner, and we're falling asleep. We're so tired, falling asleep. And we go up to bed and we lay down in bed and we're like wired. This was like me. Oh my God. This is so hard to deal with. So we actually don't want to sit there and just stew. That makes it worse. We want to get up and move around a little bit. So what I do now when I'm having this type of thing happen, if I have my kids, I get up and I do all the things that I would be doing in the morning. Unloading the dishwasher, prepping their lunches. I don't like make sandwiches the night before because I don't think they taste good as good the next day. They've been sitting out all night. But if I were to wake up at like 4, that doesn't usually happen to me. But let's say if you wake up at like 4, I think you could, maybe depending on what it is, right? So I will even prep my, I love to drink celery juice in the morning. I drink a big lemon water with Shilajit. If you don't know what Shilajit is, that'll be for another video. But it's a supplement. And I'll prep that. Depending on what I'm making for my kids for breakfast, I'll prep that. I'll get some stuff done. Every once in a while, I'll hop on the computer and do some work. If I'm really feeling like I have something to work with, I have an idea. Let's say I can't stop thinking about this, maybe an idea for a YouTube video. I'm like, really? And so I'll go on and I'll kind of write out maybe what this idea is or like something like that. Because a lot of times too, if we can't sleep at night and our mind is going, a lot of times we have anxiety around remembering what we're thinking of. Having a journal next to your bed actually can be helpful for that too. And so sometimes some of the things that are going on in our mind, if we actually jot them down, that can be a huge way to alleviate the anxiety around that thing. Because it's written down, you're not going to forget it, it'll be there tomorrow. So that can be really helpful. Of course, in a perfect world, I don't want to mess up my circadian rhythm. I usually have blue light glasses on when I'm looking at my computer screen. And so if it's midnight or whatever to get on my computer, I would obviously wear my blue light glasses, but technically we kind of don't want to even be around electronics. It's not just about the blue light. It's about the EMFs and all the things, right? But I just want to say, like, sometimes, and now if you are a big EMF person and you know that you are highly triggered and very, very sensitive, then write it down with a paper and pen. Paper pen. Do not obviously get on a computer. You have to use your own intuition, and everybody is a little bit different. But I will say there is something to be said for there comes a certain time where you have to kind of throw out some rules. Now, of course, I want to get up and get the sunlight, the infrared light, every morning. But if I'm going through a cycle where I'm not sleeping well, I'm going to extend my alarm clock setting in the morning, if I can, to add an additional, let's say I do all my morning things at night because I can't sleep. Then I'll give myself another 30, 45 minutes to sleep in the morning if I have that space. And, I'm going to have to just get the sunlight when I can get the sunlight, right? Or maybe that next day I get sunset light rather than sunrise light. Sometimes we have to just kind of flow. I feel like the rigidity around rules and certain things can really keep us stuck, and increase like the anxiety and the perfectionist pattern around, making sure we do all the things perfectly and blah, 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 which just adds more stress to everything. Sometimes we have to just say, okay, this is not going to be a perfect morning. It's okay. I'm going to live through it, right? It's not going to, whatever it is. And being okay about that in the body, allowing that sort of, a little bit of space for just being human, just like having, non-judgmental things that come up, and that just relieves pressure off the whole thing. So I just want to make sure, for a long time, no matter how much I slept, I was up at 5:30. Like, when I was studying Ayurveda, it was like a big thing, up at 5:30 in meditation, doing your breath work, doing your da-da-da-da-da. And there was such rigidity. Now, I was sleeping really well, actually, during that time. But I was also really, really tired. I think a lot of that, I was reinforcing the freeze response because I was, I don't know if it's freeze or I was kind of like not following my body impulses because even though I slept at night, I was still really tired during the day. I was kind of in a bit of a fog, more so during that time. So there's something to be said for just allowing yourself the extra 30 minutes. I mean, one time when I had insomnia, I decided to let my kids go to school later because I was up late and I did all the things, like I said, that needed to be done in the morning. And I was like, I am going to sleep until 8. And my kids usually have to be at school at 8. And they woke up around 7:45 or whatever it was. And they were 30 minutes late to school. No, it's not ideal. I don't do that often. I don't recommend always doing that, but it was a time when they also were very tired. I was really tired. I needed that extra hour or whatever it was. And I let the rules go a little bit, just a little bit. And it alleviated a lot of pressure. And I ended up getting that extra hour was really necessary for me. And we all had a great day and no harm was done. So I'm just saying, every once in a while, if you can, obviously if my kids were at a school where they were going to get in trouble or something like that, or get written up or something like that, I wouldn't have been able to do it. But there is some space somewhere to just lighten up on the rules and the rigidity and allow some extra space somewhere else for rest. The other thing that I do now, if I don't sleep well, is I will take a nap. Again, the rigidity. And it all just depends. Now, if you're really running a heavy pattern of not being able to fall to sleep till 2 and sleeping 2 to 3 hours during the day, then at some point you want to kind of make an adjustment back in there, right? But if it's a 1-off or a 2-off type thing, and you are feeling really tired during the day and you didn't sleep the night before, have 30 minutes, 45 minutes where you get off your feet, where you sleep during the day, where you allow yourself some space to do that. I want to go back to the original thing that I was going to say is, okay, so if there's sympathetic activation in the system and you are trying to go to sleep, you get up. My suggestion is get up and do something, okay? I love prepping for the night before because I feel like it's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It's getting me up and getting me activated and getting some of that sympathetic energy out. And it's also alleviating some pressure for me the next morning because I'm getting some things done. However, some people have a lot of activation and they need even more than that. I mean, doing a little bit of yoga, right? One night, I put on Irene Lyon, who is my mentor and my teacher for nervous system and somatic work. If you don't know her, check out her page. I'll link it below. I put on one of her practices, her somatic practices. And I was dealing with some anxiety coming up in my system. I wasn't able to sleep for a little while. And I put on one of her somatic practices. I was laying down here on the couch and my whole body kind of started to shake. Now, this is a little bit more advanced somatic nervous system trauma release type work. I I guess I'm not recommending to everybody to just, you don't like enforce a movement like this, but I guess I'll say, like, if something like this comes up where you're feeling the impulse of your body is just on its own kind of doing this running, shaking, my legs were kind of going, right? I had a lot of flight energy going on in my body, and I did have some memories of childhood and some things that came up in that moment. I moved my legs and my body for like 20 minutes or maybe 15. And after that, I closed my computer and I fell asleep on the couch. Again, I have a TV and some electronics that were near me that night. In a perfect scenario, when I was in my rigid days, I would have made sure I went back upstairs, fell asleep in my bed with no electronics, all EMFs off, da 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 da. But this was a time when I was really trying to let go of rigidity and just sleep when I can sleep. So, and I didn't even know I was going to sleep that hard and quickly. But after I released that sympathetic energy, I closed my computer, my laptop, and I fell right asleep. And I slept for 8 hours on the couch. Now, I didn't wake up and go, man, I really should have been in my bed last night. You know what I mean? Like, again, I'm not saying make it a habit of falling asleep on the couch next to your computer every night. I'm just saying there is some space to be less rigid, and that might really help you in that moment. And it really, really, really helped me, actually. And I was ecstatic that I was able to get that sympathetic charge out of my body, and I was able to get a full night's sleep. I did not care when I woke up in the morning where I was. Okay, so I know it seems counterintuitive or counterproductive to, when you need to go to sleep, to be active. But there is a charge in your body that wants to come out. And most of the time, if we express that out, then we will fall asleep, or we'll have a better chance of falling asleep. So let's take another instance, another scenario. Let's say you're going through something really intense. Let's say a loved one passed away, or you are having insomnia like night after night after, like your system is like not coming down. Okay. And it is really like an intense span of time that we're talking about, right? I do not promote pharmaceuticals on this page. I want to make that clear. However, if I ever had this happen, back in the past when I did have this happen more often, I would revert to taking something. I would first start with a herbal supplement of some sort, right? Let's say I did all the activating stuff, I got out the energy, it's not helping, or let's say I'm on my 5th night and it keeps going and going and going and going. You're in a loop. It's the only time I would recommend now. I think that there's herbal supplements, there's chamomile tea, there's Gaia makes a great supplement called Sleep Through. Ashwagandha can be amazing. There's some herbs I would visit first. If those did not help, I would go to melatonin. Now, melatonin is a hormone. It will affect your serotonin and everything the next day. However, if you're desperate and you need something, 1 milligram of melatonin, in my opinion, is okay. Right? Again, we do not want to be all the time every single night, but if we need to break a cycle and we need some support around that, 1 to 2 milligrams of melatonin will usually do the trick. I found out the hard way that less milligrams of melatonin actually works better than the higher. So I would never do more than 5 milligrams. Actually, I think 5 is quite a lot. If that didn't work, because there's some people that like melatonin doesn't work for them, or it'll work for a little while and then it doesn't work or whatever. I would, again, if I had to break a loop and I had to break a cycle, I would refer to a pharmaceutical if I had to. Again, last resort, not something I would make a habit of. It is the only time that I would ever go to that personally. If you have to take something to help you sleep while you're doing your nervous system work and your deeper healing, then do it. Don't have judgment and shame around it. Obviously, I still have a little bit of judgment and shame. So I'm like, I would never. No, I would do it if it was really that bad, right? My mom passed away last year, and I did take something to help me a couple of nights because I was in so much grief. I had to use it as a resource. And I am happy I had it, right? So I think, holistic communities, there is a lot of health people out there, health advocates out there that would never under any circumstances. But it's potentially possible that they are not dealing with levels of insomnia that I think like some people with chronic symptoms and autoimmune are dealing with. And if your body can't ever reach a state of rest and repair, then we have to use some resources to help, And I'm speaking from experience because I know how hard it can be to not sleep night after night after night. And sometimes we have to take something that like, I know I'm going to sleep tonight, like a 9-hour stretch or whatever. For me, it's like, I know I'm healing. I know I'm doing my nervous system work every day. I know those few episodes of insomnia that I might have throughout the year is far better than the way I used to be, which was like dealing with it all the time. My system is healing. If I have to resort to something that's outside of what I would normally do, it's going to be okay. I'm trying to think if there's other supplements that I would take. Oh, magnesium is a great one. Lots of magnesium. You can take, if it's magnesium citrate, it might affect your stools a little bit in your belly. But magnesium threonate is nice, and glycinate, is it? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, other types of magnesium other than citrate can be really good to help relax you. And again, work with the activated energy, usually in the nervous system and somatic and trauma, stored survival stress world. When there is a lot of activation, trying to calm it down is like the opposite thing of what we want to do. And so if you've watched my videos on titration and adding in little bits and all that, this work is a dance. It's like I might play with one thing a little bit. Maybe I don't get the results I want, so I switch it up and I do something different. Maybe I'm getting a lot of activation out. I'm still not able to sleep. Then I would resort to taking something. Maybe I've gotten a lot of activation out the last few nights and I was able to fall asleep, but now I'm at a point where I need to go to sleep at 9 or 10 and start to get my cycle back, and see if I can get on my circadian rhythm again or whatever your goals are. So then maybe you take something, and maybe you take melatonin that night to like kind of help you get back on track, right? So it's a dance of like seeing what works, trying something for a couple of nights, using your resources when you feel like you're desperate and you really need to, and then trying maybe something else, and then maybe you have a stretch of really, really great sleep. Thank God. Oh my God, it's awesome. And then the next full moon cycle hits and you're like, oh, here it comes again. And you try your things again and you go back and forth, and that's what we have to do. And we can only do our best. And we use our titration little tools that I taught you guys, the little bits of things, and trying different things. And that's it. I hope that this information was really useful and helpful for you. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Have a wonderful day. Bye.